Ronin Unchained. And wow, man, the penultimate episode to the third season, that might be the best season thus far. Spares no expenses, as John Hammond would say. I was thinking about whether I should do a stream or not, and then as I was editing the reaction that you can go check out on the channel, I was like, God damn it, I have to talk about this as more than just a reaction videos lane. But nonetheless, I won't be talking about this alone. I can't talk about this alone because there's so many people that dig this show, and I know another friend of mine does. Darren, how you doing, man?
Hello, thank you for having me. Thanks for putting up with my week after week of sorry, can't this week, sorry, can't this week.
It's all good. It's all
I
good.
was like, I can talk again. Let's get on here. Let's talk about it. It's crazy we're at the end of the season already. Like this show, like one of my only pet peeves with the show is they drop those 3 episodes at once. It's like, no, give us 8 weeks. It'd be so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, looking back at that now, I'm like, was this the best we could have done right now? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And to me, I'll say this: that even though I'm like you, I'm like, I don't know if we should have done that. I'm like, you know what? You didn't drop the ball in terms of quality on a week to week basis. I might have more favorite episodes than whatnot, but
Sure.
it is surreal that like we just got back. Now it's over. Now we're gonna have to wait a little bit longer to get to season 4.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, there's a whole lot of stuff to talk about with this episode. Folks, just give you a heads up right now that we will be talking spoilers. If you haven't seen the episode, if you haven't, please, for the love of God, go see this episode. It is worth time spending observing it, digesting it, experiencing it. For the people who worked on the animation, the acting, the music, direction, pacing, like, please go support this show because it is. I think it's a gem in the community of television right now, and it just so happens that it's a superhero show, and it's another plus for the superhero-related community right now in terms of media. But I have a video that you can go check out my reaction on my channel. Darren, I haven't talked to you about it. Your initial thoughts, you watch the episode, it ends. How are you feeling?
This episode, man, like this in some ways felt like a series finale of Invincible. We're doing stuff. I was like, wait, there's one more after this? How the hell do we get here? It felt like they said started like last season that like every episode this season would feel like a finale. And I don't know if I quite agree with that, but this episode is like, well, yeah, this was definitely the highest stakes, the biggest like action set pieces. We're left in this world in a very interesting spot because it's like in many ways like this is like a like end of days kind of event. Like this is a world changing thing that has just happened to all of these characters, and I'm so excited. Next episode, yes, but I think even more so like next season. I'm super excited. Like, what are the consequences going to be? Like last episode, we saw the consequences of season 1 and that event. And now it's like, these are even bigger consequences. I'm so excited to see where we go from here.
I think that there is a lot to take in because I think and it's almost become a meme that like now a lot of these good shows, the penultimate episode might be the strongest and has a lot to say. But I feel that this is going to be a defining moment, much like in season 1 of Mark, we need to talk, or even season 2 when he quote unquote at that time, as we thought, kills Angstrom Levy. And then you get to this season, it's like, okay, him and Eve are finally going to take it in another direction. Let's try it out. See how we feel as individuals and as a group, as a couple, and see where that may take us, and not be afraid to just try. Why not? This, I think, is gonna be another one where it's like, holy shit, what is gonna be the aftermath of this? Folks, I am going to put some photos, not a ton, of some graphic stuff. So if you're eerie about violence, bloodiness, I mean, why the fuck are you watching the show? But this is what it comes with. The first thing was a quick like look back. Oh my gosh, season 2, I killed him. I can't believe I killed Angstrom Levy. And we cut to this, which I was like, I have never seen a mutilated corpse like this trying to say, "Fix me," and it's just like, again, I'm not into horror a lot. Maybe in horror they do that every Wednesday, but like, it's like, what the fuck was that? He lives, Darren.
He does. Yeah, it's very funny because like there's like a certain Walking Dead actor at the end of the episode I think is very similar to a body like that. Now I wonder if that was like a little reference to because that actor did that to a certain character in that iconic episode of that show, and it's like I didn't get it then, but like once you shut it, I was like, that's very Abraham coded. It's kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
But no, Engstrom was an interesting one because I ended last season liking Engstrom, not like loving Engstrom. I was just like, I wanted a little bit more of him. And I had talked about on my show then of like, okay, I'm okay if he comes back, but I didn't like need it at the time. And I'm still not completely convinced, but honestly, I'm really interested, and maybe this is jumping ahead, and I'm sorry if I am, but how we leave Engstrom this episode is what I'm really interested about because, that's really fascinating. You know, like we have an Engstrom that has clearly lost his mind. He's not thinking really straight. He's just filled with rage and you know anger to the point where he's teaming up with the people that he hates to take out the one good one. So I'm curious where we leave him, maybe next season or maybe a couple seasons down the line, because that's like, he's not the biggest fish in the sea potentially. He's maybe under some other people, which would be fun.
Yeah, it's almost the hypocrisy of like you see him going to lead everything to like destroy Mark's life, but then he just like roll out my minions that I just happen to hate your guts and use everybody like this, dude. Again, folks, I don't know how I've been doing it. I have not read ahead, so I've heard of the Invincible War, and so I was just like, whoa, all these timelines of what the fuck went wrong, what happened. And they kind of more or less tease out, there's something that happens in those timelines that may have led down this road for those Graysons, those Mark Graysons. And it is a fascinating dynamic of like, you want to destroy your enemy, but you're going to use them in every other lifetime that you could possibly think of. And see how that plays out. And go ahead, Darren. You can say something?
Yeah, no, like it's such an interesting thing because like season 2, it's like part of me is like he's kind of valid. Like I understand, him trying. It's very similar to Lois coded, where it's like I'm going to take out the people that are these terrible, horrible people, and I can get the point of like I'm going to take him out before he can turn evil. Like I can see that. I can really get there. And now he's arguably just as bad, if not worse, than these Invincibles that they were at in last season. And it's like, man, you've really fallen from grace, and it's a very interesting like trajectory getting there. And he just cannot see that like he's killing a good one. Like he's killing like the one in the entire multiverse that actually wants to do good, which it's interesting for sure.
It's that line that Debbie throws at him in season 2, right? Where it's just like, you can't stand that in this universe, he's the hero and you're the villain.
Yeah.
He's like, what the fuck did you just say? He went full ninja on Debbie Grayson. But yeah, and also I pity. It must be a wild thing to be in a relationship in this world, because even Mark can't get a break. Rex and Ray can't get a break. It's just like they are doing their best trying to live normal lives, and yet every day something comes knocking on the fucking door, and it's just like to me, it's what I love about the X-Men. We're like, if we're not destroying stuff and whatnot, what is happening between y'all? What is that posse doing forward? Are they gonna hit the club? Are they gonna prank that person? Like, it is madness. How are you feeling about the relationship, and almost I think the stuff that I was more intrigued and important and felt most important to me in this episode? I like the bombastic stuff, blockbuster, zoom in, cool slow-mo stuff, but like to me it was this stuff that was like, I hope they can pay the bill. I hope Rex helps Ray finish moving in, and maybe they get to what's the word, bless the house, if you will. How did you feel about the dynamics between the relationship? Because I have never seen in a while my memory could be off. A character start off so douchey, such a jock.
Gosh. Yeah.
And I come to think of him as a mate, as a bro that I would watch his 6'4", and the fact that he organically found his way to evolve, to mature, not from an age point of view, but just as a mental point of view of not just thinking himself of just property, but as an individual, and seeing that he can connect with someone that is willing to open his eyes to a different world and perspective. How do you feel about that angle with the relationships?
Yeah, no, I in the last season and a half, he has slowly been becoming. I think he is my favorite character in the show. I think Rex has become my favorite character, and his journey. I think the last episode really cemented it. Like there was that fantastic moment where it's like, I don't know who I am if I'm not a superhero. I was made for this, and there's that like Iron Man dialogue in the back of my head where it's like, well, if you're nothing without it, then should you even have it? And like these very deep conversations I've had with his character, his growth, his stuff in the first episode of the season, trying to like wingman Eve and Mark, and it's been such a fun journey for that character. And again, I haven't read the comics. I'm going in like completely blind just this show because I want to enjoy this show for what it is, and maybe someday I'll go through and read it. But I had heard that at some point Rex was, again, spoilers if anyone is jumping in who hasn't seen it, was not going to make it. He was going to die at some point. And like, okay, that makes sense. I was not expecting this season though. I was thinking like season 4, maybe season 5. And this whole episode, the way they were setting it up, and then I guess even this season they've been kind of doing that. But like this episode especially, it was like, shit, this is it, isn't it? They really set it in motion. And it's and here's what I'll say again. I love Rex. I will say I don't know if his death hit as hard for me this episode. I think just because I feel like another show I love, X-Men 97, did a very, very similar death to his. Like weirdly similar, just like in the character's power sets to how it's done and how he did it. Felt very similar. And again, nothing against his death. I thought it was very good, very emotional. But I was like, that one did it like slightly better, and that was kind of in the back of my mind the whole time. But no, it was. I love Rex. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I was shocked he didn't say the name's Rex.
Remember
me, dickhead, or whatever. Yeah, something like that. I can understand that. I think we'll take it up right now. Where like, I love the episode, but I think there was space to do more stuff and even expand on time with 3 days. Because for those who don't know, like it's 3 days of this war. It's not just 1 day or 1 weekend. It's 3 days of like hell.
Yeah.
So I think there's room to, before we go on, let's see. Tyler Calvert, the message from Invincible is clear. Don't be a superhero in a relationship because you'll suffer more.
Yeah.
I'm gonna butcher the quote, but what is mourning if not love persevering? Like to me, I get what Tyler's saying, but I think that's why we love these characters and why we care about their love for one another. Is that like, we know that anytime they could die, and yet it's the moments right before that, or when they have a sense of peace of who they chose to be. Like to me, him like, look at this, showing off to Ray, and her be careful, and like I'll be right back. That was like, if that was the last thing we were gonna get of them two, I'm a happy camper, but I'm still fucking pissed. Fuck you, Prime Video and Robert and Ryan and everybody there. That was devastating, but I get it, Tyler. Yeah.
And just go ahead. You can read that first, and then I'll say what I'm gonna say.
I don't. Chainsaw Reacts? Is this the TikToker? Is this the
Yeah, I don't think I've ever met this guy. I've heard some weird things about him though, so I don't know. We'll see.
I heard he likes Ben 10. I heard that. I think I could be wrong.
I thought it was 10 Ben. I don't know.
It might be canon. I pulled that one out of the ass. Scream taught us to never say you'll be right back. Fair, I guess.
Yeah.
Fair, I guess. But Darren, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, no, like just because I guess I kind of skipped over your question about the relationships. Like I think the show does like relationships very well, and I always think they're very realistic takes on how relationships work. Like I had my whole issues this season about like Invincible Inc. and we had a huge conversation on my channel and just like not that it's bad in the show, but like ethically having that conversation, is it morally okay and stuff like that, and like and I can go down that track, whatever, but also these are teenagers trying to make money. Very realistic thing to do in a relationship, and I like that aspect of it. I know people hate Amber. I love the Amber stuff last season as well, and the last 2 seasons, because, like, to me, that's such realistic storytelling for teenagers who are dating. Like, I think those reactions were so valid, and I think the way I even love the like Mark and Amber stuff this season. I love when characters can date and then be like, no, yes, we dated, yes, that happened, but we can be friends as well. And I think that's really fun to see. The Amber and Mark stuff this season has been very fun. Like I started out being like, okay, let's see how this goes, and by the end I'm like, okay, yeah, they're really good together. Shrinking Ray's been great. This is like the first season I feel like I've truly liked her as a character, because I think this is the first season she's truly been a character. Before, she's just like kind of a background superhero that they bring up every once in a while. So
Yeah.
and I'm excited to see her being like, I'm going to retire. I'm leaving this. And because of that, she's going to blame herself for what happened to Rex. She's going to be like, if I was there, could I have saved them? Could I have done something different? Could we have beat them together? That's going to be in her mind. And I'm curious to see that arc as well.
Yeah. With Amber, so weird. I was liking Amber until she threw the whole thing. I'm like, oh, I knew you were invincible the whole time. I was like, well, what the fuck? Like why didn't you? Because you didn't tell me. I'm like, I'm a superhero. If I tell you that, there's the liability, and like anybody could fight for it out. So I remember that was like, what the fuck? But to me, them ending the relationship on their own terms, I felt that was organic, and I felt that for both of them. Because I was also, my heart was going out for her. I'm like, she's worried about him, and also she was a millisecond away of dying because she knew him. And she doesn't have the abilities to defend herself against someone like that, Anessa. And I at first it was awkward. I'm not gonna lie. That reaction was like William invites Amber and her boyfriend now, and it's just like, dude, me and Eve just started officially doing this. Give us a little bit before we start going back into the past. But then as it eases off, I'm like, okay, this is to me. I'm like, this is the matureness I hope I see more in the real world. I think that's the best case scenario, especially with now because again, they're in college. This is their first few years in college, or now Mark quitting college, where like, you try your best to make money or to preserve money as much as you can, especially when stuff is either pricing up or the scholarships or wherever may not feed you every night and just barely holds you together to go to class and whatnot. So I like that realistic element to it. And I get that with Ray. I think last season it was when it was starting to build up. And again, her individuality. I am right now, folks, I'm hunting down a Shrinking Ray action figure right now, just to be like, she is so cool. Her angle, why she would want to leave, and now why she's in the. It's the Michael Corleone thing of like, she thought she was out and now she's gonna go back in because I think, or who knows, they might shock me of like guilt and be like, no, let's see if I can balance it out and almost honor him with what he was willing to give me in his last moments, I think.
Well, here's a piece of advice. When people ask where's your action figure of her, just be like, it's right here. You just can't see it because it's so small. You save a bunch of money and say you still have it.
Darren. I love that.
Because like I got an Ant-Man one right here.
Fuck off.
It's right down there. Don't worry about it.
I love that, folks. Please, this is a plug for Jordan. If you're watching this, we love you, man. Go watch Council Creators every Wednesday, because once in a while you'll get something like this from Darren, and it is. Dare I say poetry? Yesterday we had a moment like that, and I was like, "Oh, beautiful! That is sweet."
Top tier comedy at its best, 100%.
Netflix, give them a special. We got some more comments from Igalax, Amber grew on me. Yep, I can
Hmm.
see that. No, Ray would be screwed going against a Invincible. I
Yes.
don't know. I don't know. I mean, she has that maneuver that I think she went up against a couple of the Lizard League, and
Sure.
I don't know. To me, I don't don't underestimate them because I think now she's learned a lot from her recovery. And again, if Ray can go toe to toe with him, I think she can go toe to toe. Would she win? I don't think so. But with them
No.
together, that's a whole reality. I want to see that fight.
I think I think with prep time she could if her like she went to see somebody like, hey, I can go inside the bloodstream, I can do something, can you cook me up something to expand their heart rate or something, I can just slip inside of them. She can do damage if given the right tactics. Rex, on the other hand, I feel like was just, as he can be very good in combat, just not equipped for Invincible and what he can do, unfortunately.
Mm.
Which is like, this is something I was kind of talking about on my show the other day, where like we're talking about like Shrinking Ray and like Adam Eve or someone that they could like retire from the superhero business and do something else with their abilities. And we're like, Rex would have a harder time because it is very like combat based abilities. It'd be hard to be like, yeah, go build this or do this with your powers or whatever. It's unless you're like joining the like military or something, it'd be hard to utilize that powers outside of the superhero realm, I guess.
This might be a cliche, but I would want to see how that pans out in this world. But let's see, action figure would be so good. Like she shrink that size. Yep. If it came with a regular size and then a tiny ass version of shrink ray, I'd buy that in a heartbeat. But I feel like, what if she doesn't go back to superheroes, but she becomes almost like what Sam Wilson did for a while, where it's like she becomes a counselor for a lot of these superheroes. Like, if anything, I would love to see how she would handle having a convo with Duplicate and Immortal, which we'll get into later. How like that dynamic of like retiring, leaving the you're good, leaving that life behind you. I'm very intrigued to see where Ray goes from here. Either way, back to superheroes, or if she decides to be a counselor for the superhero community, I want to spend time with her. I think she's a rich character that deserves the limelight to see where she can go onward.
Yeah. Okay, so I have to show it up just because it's in the conversation.
Go for it.
I forgot I had it. So I have my Adam like Funko, but what's really cool about it is there's like the little Adam that goes with it. So it's like he's shrinking down to that size. And when I saw it, I was like, I have to have this. This is the coolest fucking shit. This is awesome.
That's amazing. But yeah, Invincible finally realizes like, oh shoot, I gotta fight different versions of myself. What the hell was this happening and whatnot? And what a chaotic motley crew of different varieties.
Yeah.
There's like two Viltrumites. One I think was infested with the squid species, the Martian species, if you will.
Yeah.
Someone that said he flat out said that he killed his dad. I think the most effed up part is they all killed, all of them killed Debbie in their world, which I'm like, what the fuck?
How did they
Which
yeah.
I like the combat in this episode. The rotations, the movements and whatnot. I dug it and whatnot. And you see how it leads out. And again, we were talking about how most of them killed Debbie in their worlds. This might have been the scene outside of the last one of the episode. This scene might have been the one for me of this episode, where it's like you see Oliver trying to go help, and Debbie's just like, no, you're too young. And like, you feel the heartache of a mom saying, my boys are superheroes. Right now, this could change everything. I don't want to lose both of them. I can't do that. Like, I already lost Nolan. I don't want to lose both of my boys. And seeing how, again, matureness, Oliver stops, looks at her, and goes back down to be like, please, mom, give me permission to like go and help. Like, it would feel ignorant. And he tells him, y'all telling me to preserve life, to like cherish it. This is me trying to cherish it. I love that we had this moment with them. Do you have any thoughts? Let me say this as we go forward. Do you have a favorite scene of the episode?
I mean, just the like Oliver thing first. Like, I have really enjoyed Oliver this season. Like,
Yeah.
I really like that he's not a black and white character. It's not like, this is how I feel, so I'm going to do this 100%. Oliver's a character that doesn't quite know how he feels. He's somewhere that's in the middle. He loves his brother. He loves his mom. He loves those morals, but he also loves his dad. And he has that in him too. And he's really struggling on which one he wants to be, on what side of it. And I don't think it's a situation of just being one or the other. I think he's going to grow up being that very middling character. And I think we saw that this week. He loves his mom. He's honoring his wishes. Like, Mom, please, I have to do this. But he also doesn't have that moral compass about killing. He's like, Mark, kill him. You have to do it. And he's not really wrong either. Like, he's a character that he just caused thousands upon thousands of lives. And like, he should, if this is any other situation, we would have taken him out. Like, cops or snipers would have taken him out if this was another situation. I get it. But I think that moral dilemma from Mark of like, I feel like I need to take care of this, but I don't want to show him that this is okay. And that is really tough on him. I think that's really good storytelling without outright saying exactly what he's thinking, which I think is really cool.
I agree. Bless you. Damn, nobody saw it. But I agree that, like, to me, that's the richness right there. It's just like,
Yeah.
You agree with what he wants him to do, but for his own psychology, you don't want him to see this or to embrace it. I'm like, no, that's the job of, like, don't cross that line.
Yeah.
And it would have taken away everything of any good he had been doing right now. We're like meeting friends naturally, being a kid. And to me, the most proud moment I've had with Oliver, the upstairs one, is that, like, he saved somebody and they thanked him for it. And it's just like, that's the hero. That's the job. That's what you aspire to do on a daily basis. Just help for just simply doing the right thing. And but yeah, I agree with you. Like, Oliver just been going at it, and like, it's, again, as someone who's an older sibling, it hits home a lot. And like,
Sure.
Those moments really, like, maybe once every day, maybe every other day, it goes to my mind of like making sure that, like, I'm doing good, or that I've done good, or will I do better in the future and whatnot. So I just, that was just the goal, the foundation of why I give a shit about these characters and this series, in my opinion. But yeah, apparently Eagle accepts his favorite scene. The moral dilemma scene was awesome. Yeah. And again, for a split second, Mark was like, he gave me no choice. He was going to do it. He was going to do it. It was very much a Luke Skywalker moment of like, take this sword and strike me down. And he almost did the whole Luke thing where he cut down his Emperor Palpatine, if you will. And yeah, man, it just so good.
Yeah, and again, like, I love the themes of redemption this season. I love this, like, moral dilemma that we put Mark in, where it's like he's against Cecil, like, redeeming these heroes and doing all these fun things, but he's also kind of dealing with those themes himself, with the stuff with his father. Is it okay for him to be redeemed? Is Angstrom redeemable? Because I don't think so. I think he's so crazy. I don't think there's a world where he can be redeemed, at least not for a very long time. But does Mark know that? Like, it is a very hard line. And I love, my favorite thing about these shows is its ability to have these very deep and serious conversations about, like, life and morality and, like, what it means to be human and how much is a life worth. I think is so interesting. Like, I think this has overall, I think, been my like technical least favorite season, but like these conversations did not loosen up. Like, episode, was it 2? Like, on my show, we talked about that scene for like an hour and a half, just like what that means, and like that debate was so fascinating. And like over there, we disagreed. Like two of us thought one way and the other thought the other. And I was like, that's fascinating. Is there isn't really a right answer and a wrong answer. It's just how are you feeling about said situation. That's interesting.
There's validity on both sides.
Yeah.
And you can see both angles. It's just how's your moral compass going about it, and which character you're looking at from. Are you looking at from the older brother or from the younger brother perspective? Yeah. And I love that you touched on Cecil and his dynamics, because this is also another great episode with Cecil where you see him go through the ringer. You see how much he wants, at a point, doesn't want Donald to go fight, but Donald says, like, this is part of the job. This is what I'm supposed to do. And we're going back and forth, but to me, a moment that I so was proud that they did, and I can't imagine what it was like for Stephen Yeun and Walton Goggins, of him saying, hey, if you need to talk to someone, and before you can finish it, he says, like, you're the last person I want to talk to, but thank you. Because he said, because I think even that, he's like, I appreciate that you at least you extended the hand. And when, like, right now, I'm not in the mood for talking. But that was a great moment. I feel like, whether Mark knows or not, he's just been in your shoes, almost verbatim lines of, like, being the good guy or protecting the world, and the difference between that. And him there and be like, yeah, you probably should have killed him, but you can't blame yourself for being a good person. Yeah. And it's like, championing, just in this day and age, the ability to just do something because it's the right thing to do. That's peak stuff that this show gives. Again, as someone who I read up to a point with the books, I saw a bunch of cameos that I know people who read ahead, I know for sure must have been flipping the F out when they saw people like Brett. I know we saw Werewolf Man or Werewolf, if you will. I think I spotted Tech Jacket fighting off against one of the Viltrumites, Mark variants. So I thought that was a great kicker moment to see the world beyond the Graysons and what we've seen at the point. Because a lot of these characters are from spin-offs or specials and, like, side books of the main Invincible book. So I just love that, like, it added flair. And if I'm not mistaken, the actor who voices Britt right here on the right is the guy from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. I think his name is Mike, the character in that show. So I thought it was cool. Yeah. I thought that was cool to see.
I will say, like, I don't know how I feel about some of the celebrity casting sometimes. Like, sometimes I think they go super hard with them in some cases. Like, obviously these last two with Aaron, I forget his last name, but like fantastic Aaron Paul, fantastic casting, really proved like he was right for that part. Fantastic. Wouldn't take that away. J.K. Simmons, another run. Famous actor, but he fits the part perfectly. But I do think sometimes it's like they're there just because they're a big actor, and it's like, hey guys, look at us, we're a big name actor, which I sometimes don't love. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes, like, I think a character like that, you could have just had anyone played a part. Maybe save Jonathan Banks for a bigger character, like who's cast at the end of this episode. That's fine, perfectly fine. Huge character, probably gonna fit that role very, very well. Totally fine with that. We have, like, the whole mummy situation. Love, like, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fan, love Daisy Johnson, fantastic. It's like, but I don't know if I would have cast her in such a small role just to say, hey, I'm here, kind of thing. But no,
just for eye candy, yeah.
But it's still very cool to hear their voices and stuff like that.
I remember feeling that afterwards, after seeing the execution, which was I remember when they cast Sigourney Weaver in Defenders. I was like, oh shoot, we got. Yeah, I'll never forget watching the panel when they announced that. People were yelling, "Holy shit!"
Yeah.
And then I watched the show, and I'm like, oh, we wasted her for this role, and like we're not gonna see her again. Like, oh man, we should have saved her for something else. Like, she should have been a legendary Shield agent or something like that, you know, or whatever have you, a variant of like Captain Marvel or something like that. But like, I get that notion. I completely like sometimes it feels like it's just quote unquote free promotion to put out like, oh my gosh, this celebrity that's not and has been in hot shows is in this animated series that has a cult following, if you will. And but yeah, I get that. Yes, Tyler, I almost forgot to say that even Kate Mara voicing Paraplax's wife, I was like, wait, what the hell? But then people and I were like, wait a minute, but the wife is almost designed like Christine Ritter from Breaking Bad, who was the girlfriend of Aaron Paul in Breaking Bad, which is it's funny funny dynamics. And what's weird is that Jonathan Banks, the guy who voices Brit, for the longest I thought he was going to play the character at the end because there was this, and again we'll get to that scene at the end when another actor had teased his involvement with the show, and I was like, oh, he's playing so and so, and then Jonathan Banks was announced. I'm like, wait, okay, I guess Jonathan is going to do that character, but it worked out. And again, I think honoring the books with those characters, seeing the werewolf, I flipped out. I'm like, oh, I remember when that fool showed up in the books and whatnot. And I was like, that's so sweet. But yeah, just building out the world, and I would want to see how the heroes outside of the Guardians of the Globe are handling stuff in this planet, and what their point of views are of the Viltrumite attack and the imminent threat. But
would you have liked? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Would you have liked to have seen Invincible lead the Guardians? Because I was actually because that's something that they've been kind of teasing for a while, and there's a part of me that's like, oh, this is really cool. I really want to see that. I want to see that aspect of it. And I know he stepped away, but it's something I would still just like to see, because I feel like they've been kind of slowly teasing it, having Eve come back, maybe having Mark come back, and maybe if it's not maybe not the Guardians, but maybe Teen Team. I know there's not much of a Teen Team yet. We don't know what that new name is going to be, but I don't know. It's tough. I don't know.
To me, at this point, I like him rejecting it, but I also like the reason of why they're saying dude, you stood up to me. Cecil saying that, dude, you stood up to me. That's a leader.
Yeah.
I think, and again, folks, I haven't read the books yet, so please don't spoil shit. I'll get to the books. Is that I think if the Viltrumite Empire does come knocking, I think then is when he'll be most quote unquote comfortable, or at least accepted the fact that I can't save everyone. I can't put everything on my shoulders. If I'm going to lead a team, these individuals trust me to lead them, and they already know that this could be a one-way ticket if we fight the Viltrumite Empire. Some of them might die, and they're all ready to do that because that's what comes with the job.
Yeah, man.
So I think until then, that should be his. I even hate saying it like this, but his Avengers Assemble moment, his light it up moment to step into the role and be earnest of he's rejected it so much, and now he's let go of everything and is ready to go dead on and be all right, I'm standing up for my planet, for my friends, my community. I'm gonna lead the charge, and if anybody wants to follow me, good on them. I got your back. So I think in time he'll do all right, I'll do it, but time. I think that's the beauty of it, when you hold that thing until as much as you can, and then when it's time, snap it and let him loose.
Sure. I also think you bring up a good point of I think this episode proves how big of a threat that Viltrumite War is going to be for Earth, because if a bunch of Marks did this, who are we were told most of them aren't as strong as our Invincible, what are the Viltrumites going to be, who are confirmed to probably all be stronger than both Mark and his brother? I don't think we're ready for that, right? I don't think Mark, as good as he's got this season, he's one of the strongest versions of him. That's great. That's fantastic. We are still not ready. And I think this also is, again, I think this Cecil Mark thing is so brilliant this season, because it's this episode also kind of proved he was right? It proved that there was a reason Cecil made that, just in case this has happened to him, right? In every other reality, he went evil, right? So there's at least a valid reason to think that, and also there's a whole Viltrumite army coming eventually. There is validity to Cecil's point in what he was doing and what he was making, even if you argue if how he did it was maybe wrong, what he did was not. So that's
going about it. Yeah, the intent is not wrong, but the execution might have been wrong. Yeah. Eve is injured, man. Eve would not leave Mark's side. She went all the way, and she gave as much as she can to fight, but she got injured. Yeah. And again, I was so frightened with don't you dare do anything to her. And the fact that one variant was like, I hate you, I've hate you the most, and like,
Yeah.
whew, what the fuck happened in that reality? And again, some get injured, and unfortunately, some of our friends,
Yeah.
they go down swinging. I appreciate that more than anything. Is like when a character goes down, but he goes down
Yeah.
swinging. He's like, if I'm going down, you're coming with me, and I love that. That's the biggest middle finger you can give to a villain antagonist. That, oh yeah, I'm not gonna make this easy for you. You want me? You better earn it. And seeing this motion in action, him throwing the dirt, the rocks, and lighting up the whole place, and seeing the how much this shot is going to echo later towards the end of the episode, which we'll talk about in a bit. I love that, like the manner that this variant of Mark underestimates Rex and is willing to go to toe, and how Rex says, again, another similar death shot that I guess to an extent I agree with you. Like I could have felt more of it, but I still was crushed. Of like, you gotta be shitting me. We still had to unpack. We still had to finish unpacking, and then following it up with this shot just was like, God damn it, man. God damn it. And you see it everywhere. You see it with Britt helping Donald. You see the other characters trying to make up for like falling down. Mark arrogantly not trying to leave Eve's spot, Ursat the whole time. It was just devastating, man, for me at least. Like I love the show. I love the show.
Yeah, I think one of the things that made me fall in love with the show in season 1 is I loved how realistic it was in its world, and like I loved how they displayed how fragile people are, right? Like that scene in that episode season 1 where he goes like to fly someone away and he just like breaks their neck or whatever because he doesn't know how to hold them properly. And I felt that this week, like a lot of these characters are just at the end of the day human. Like they're not like, yes, it's called Invincible, but Mark's the only one that is invincible. So Eve was like, I was like, no, please, please, please. Like she's very, 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 very powerful. But I feel like if you shoot her, she's going to like get shot. Like there's nothing she can do. So I was so afraid in the way they just like, I was like, oh no, no, not Eve, no.
The slamming down was what freaked me out. But luckily, like again, intelligence, like her last thing she could do was like steady the hit to the ground and whatnot. So I appreciate that. And then for a second, dude, the variants revolt. They tell us, hey, actually, you promised us this, this, and this. Fuck off and whatnot. And just look at this shot, man. I can't imagine what Cory Walker and Ryan Otley, the artists of the books, must have been going through when they saw this. I'm like, we drew this shit. Now it's in an animated series on Prime Video. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And I don't know about you. At points, I couldn't stop laughing myself because of the high pitched voice Steven Yeun was doing as one of the variants, and I was just like, dude, like I could tell you're pitching your voice. And even the one scene where he dismantles the Guardians headquarters and says, "Oh yeah, my dad did the same thing," and the echoes of like the last scene of the first episode of the whole series of when Omni-Man does the Guardians like yesterday's trash. And I just love how even Angstrom anticipated, oh yeah, they were going to betray me eventually, just thinking about it and whatnot. And what do you think right now with Angstrom at this point when you see him duke it out? Do you dig in the animation? You like the choreography? How did you feel about this fight scene?
Yeah, no, it's very fun. Like I think Angstrom is such a creatively fun power set of a villain, you know, because he is so powerful. Like he took out 14 Invincibles in just a thought. He's like, nope, you're out of here, go bud. You know, and there's nothing you can really like do about it, right? Like they can't be like, well, let's go home, guys. No, they're stuck there, right? Like last season, if he didn't want him to come back, he would have just been stuck on those other realities. Like there's nothing you can do. And I think it's really fun having Mark having thought a lot about the fight, now a little bit more experience knowing what he can do, and him really, really going hard and you know, being more creative with how he's fighting him. And really it's his ego at this point that led to his downfall, right? He could have started the episode. He could have killed Mark easily. He could have been like, all right, all 18 of you go fight him all at once. Nothing Mark could have done, right? He would have just got destroyed. But it's like, no, I want to do it. I want to kill Invincible. It has to be me. You just have to destroy what he loves and all that fun stuff. So it is ego that did it, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna go get him again, or do this all this stuff. So yeah, again, like I said earlier, like I'm so excited to see where we take him now that he's under the thumb of what seemingly is another threat.
Those droids,
yeah, what are they capable of? Because it's like, oh man, this looks very fun. And where do we see Angstum next will be interesting.
I want to see the wedding of these two. I want to see what the hell's gonna happen to them, because this was such a moment of like, and now, man, like I've given you guys so much on the superhero community, and then you add on the time I've been alive. I'm like, I want some me time. I've earned that moment. I dug this. Like, I wonder how Paul is gonna feel about this. But I thought it was a sweet moment of like, again, much like Ray and Rex, of like, we're walking away. Like,
yeah,
we've done the time we could have. Yeah, man, it's. I don't know why I can't stand most novellas in real life, but for some reason, this X-Men, these are my novellas. Like I'm like, oh, I want to see where that goes and how that pays off, and if there's any happy ending for them, who knows? But again, much like the wedding ring, which I was like, oh shit, they're married or they're engaged, and it's like, what the fuck? And having Donald be happy for them, that was a little cool moment of like the shot of him smiling and be like, he gets it, he understands where he's coming from. Mark bumps into his maybe future girlfriend, in-laws. I don't know what's the word to say it for where it's a girlfriend parents. Anyways, he bumped into Eve's parents. There you go. Yeah. And I knew the dad was gonna be a dick, but thankfully the mom is more sympathetic and more open to the stuff. And again, he doesn't flat out say it. Me and your daughter are, and just having a moment of her giving her point of view of like, she lost a friend from the special, which I was like, fuck, man.
Yeah.
Like, that was heartbreaking. At one point, I thought she was gonna say, "Oh, we brought her friend that she hadn't talked to in a while. Mm-hmm. Maybe that'll cheer her up and whatnot." And to me, this shot, I was like, "Please, Mark, just take a second, just to let it out, man." Like, looking out of the rubble.
I really like that scene too, because I think that's going to add to his grief, because he had a chance to go back out there, save some people, stop some more. Invincible was like, "No. I can't, just leave me alone." And like that line from Cecil where it's like, what's Eve gonna think when she learns that you didn't go back out and you stayed with her? Especially her friend died, right? And that is going to be on him, right? Could he have saved her? Probably not, right? There's too many people. She probably still would have died. But that thought is always going to be in his mind. Maybe I could have saved her. Maybe I could have,
should have, yeah.
Oh, that's so good. But I honestly don't know if I've ever hated a character more than I hate Eve's father. Man, this guy, he's always
piece of work.
Just the worst character you've ever met. Always. There's no moment where I'm like, okay, maybe he has a point. No, he's always just the worst. Like it's crazy.
Mark can't ever catch a break. Yep, that's what I'm saying, man. Poor bastard. I'm like, dude, you need to go on vacation, man. You need to go on vacation. Okay, we're almost at the tail end of the stream, y'all. If you've dug our combo, hit the like button. Thank you for tuning in. If you have, either now on live or in the future. But make way for my landing or entrance, worm. And then kaboom. Pissing our pants yet? Boy, I have a feeling we're getting close. Darren, Conquest is here.
Yes.
And again, for those, I've heard of this character. I don't know much what's gonna happen after this meeting. I just know that like, oh shit, this is another thing of like, you gotta be shitting me. And he was teased from the finale of season 1.
Yeah.
From season 1, he was already teased. And like initially, because I was so shell shocked, I didn't like fully realize who it was. And it wasn't until I was editing that I'm like, I was like, no. And then as we were teasing at the beginning, we're getting a rematch in pop culture. We're getting a rematch in pop culture with this fucking show. Are you kidding me? he's got a gauntlet and he's got this eye and whatnot, and like they're gonna fly in and like duke the shit out of each other. Just Darren, what do you think?
No, that's so much fun. That's such a fun. Like Jeffrey Dean Morgan is such an actor. Like, like Negan. Like I binged Walking Dead last year. Is really really fun. And like even when Negan as a character is like maybe not at his best, man. Jeffrey Dean Morgan is such a good performer. Like he makes you just love every line, every piece of dialogue, and just in like the little bits we got, it's like, yeah, he's back, man. And is such a fun meta narrative of just like, well, it's Glenn versus Negan again. Like just the thought of like Glenn getting that rematch is really really fun.
But yeah, and what's weird is that like. So for those who didn't know, I had heard that Jeffrey Dean Morgan was gonna be involved in the show a while back. He had posted this photo, and I was like, "Wait, what does this mean?" And I was going through the Rolodex of like visuals of like characters, and I'm like, if I was a betting man in Vegas, I'd say he was gonna play Conquest.
Yeah.
And again, it was hush hush. He didn't bring it up. It's been quiet of like who's gonna play that character. As we said, Jonathan Banks was added to the list, and at one point I'm like, oh, I guess Banks might be Conquest. Yeah. And part of me was like, oh, I wish I would have seen what Jeffrey Dean Morgan's take was. And then again, it wasn't until hearing in the editing, I was just like, wait, what the fuck? I'm like, oh shit, you're doing it. And I can't imagine how Steve and Jeffrey feel about this. And I hope because I know for most of these shows, a lot of anime shows, the actors, they work solo by themselves. I hope for this one they were in the same room. Like, come on, man! Fun. Like, just see how poetic that is, and take a photo of like, this feels familiar. Mm-hmm. Except there's no bats and nobody's on their knees. Yeah, I'm like, what's this about? Tyler said he was expecting Doug Bradley.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how big of a character Conquest is. Like, again, I don't know the comics. I don't know nothing. But it would be fun if, like, in season 3 of marketing, they like do a little promo with like the 2 actors or whatever. Like maybe they like recreate a scene or something as Mark and as Conquest instead. Like, I think that could be kind of fun. Or just like the 2 cast members on screen just being like, "Didn't I kill you?" Like, not yet, or something like that. It's like a fun little marketing gimmick. Could be fun. Yeah. Like very similar to what The Boys is doing with like Supernatural right now, where it's like final season very Supernatural heavy. So I think it's cool.
So yeah, I think kudos to Jeffrey, and like what a cool thing to be like, oh yeah, you were in Walking Dead, and then The Boys, and then you want to stay in Amazon, we got Invincible, and like to me this screams of like someone who I look up to and like think of him as like a very Charles Bronson, Steve McQueen vibe, where it's like there's a similar vibe of like what Tom Hardy brings to performances in movies, and there's a similar thing that Jeffrey Dean Morgan brings to films and shows and whatnot. And like again, seeing this photo pay off later down the line to seeing these shots that from what I've seen are right out of the fucking book. And this last shot, someone edited. You should watch this later. Someone edited What I've Done by Linkin Park, and almost the same Transformers ending of like right before the punch, they cut to directed by Michael Bay, and like I am gonna blow a casket next week if this is a full long hour-long episode of just a fight between these two of duking it out. I am so tempted to read ahead, but I feel like for reaction purposes, I shouldn't read ahead. But I'm kind of like an Invincible junkie, and like I can't. I need to know. And like I don't know. Man, that's gonna be. Anyways, I think for me, my final thoughts on the episode is that like I dug it so much, and yet I can see critique of it would have been nice if this was a 3-episode arc, because it's 3 days of this fucking war, and it would have been nice to let each sequence or scene breathe more, like Cecil and Donald with the animated men's beating up on that one variant. I'm like, what was Invincible attacking the Pentagon like? And then maybe spend more time with Ray and Rex, and you see the fallout of like, okay, what happens now when even Powerplex is out? He takes a shot at a couple of these variants and calls out Invincible in front of everybody after this whole disaster and be like, it's his fault.
Yeah.
Look at all the dead bodies around you. It's his fault. Like, finally, y'all still don't see the way I see him, which who knows if they're going to tackle that next week. But yeah, I think I told somebody else that, like, it was, for me, it was A- episode. I dug it so much, but it would have been nice to see that other perspective, but it doesn't take away how much my eyes were just glued to the screen and how at points I was just like, please end this. Not because I'm not hating the show, but I'm like, I had enough. I had enough with this maiming and destruction. I'm like, I don't want to see anybody else get hurt that I give a shit about, and I'm willing to follow each on a week-to-week basis.
I definitely agree with you. We're like, fantastic episode, arguably one of the best of the show. Like, it's high up there for me. But I do agree, pacing was like the only thing where it's like, yeah, a lot of these things that I think were really good could have been paced even better. Like, I loved the Rex stuff. Great. Wish they could have stayed on that a bit longer. I wish we could have maybe built up to it just slightly more, because it does kind of feel like, oh, it's here now, it happened, okay, we got to move on.
Yeah.
But like, fantastic episode. Absolutely loved it.
Shifty or 650, have you read the comics? So I've read up until the first episode of the season. So I've already seen the first issue of the compendium. I have the second compendium of when they duke it out with Seismic in the underground. So that's where I've read up to.
Yep.
I am, as I said earlier, I'm doing my best not to read ahead because I want to capture it in the first time.
It. Yeah.
And almost do it like what I did with season one, where season one, I went into it blind, cold, not knowing too much about it. And then in season two, by then I had read and like knew, I was ready for I miss my wife and all these other moments. So I might do that for the next few days. I'm like, just hold it and wait. As soon as the episode ends and you finish editing, you can go ahead and read if you want to.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where I stand. But I again, it's a lot of these properties. Go get the books, y'all. A lot of these properties, I don't know a lot of the contract went out. They don't really pay well the creators of these big IPs that make a ton of money. So go buy the books, because I hope some of that money goes back into the creators' pockets.
Yeah.
And you should cherish that art that Corey Walker and Ryan Ollie are doing with the scripts that Robert Kirkman turned in. And kudos to the writing staff, the directors, and everybody involved with this show. Like, from what I've been hearing of those who've read ahead, they're honoring the books while still giving their own stink with this series and making it their own, and yet not disagreeing the books, which I always appreciate when you find that balance between both of them.
And also, just to carry on what you were saying, like, yes, buy these books. Again, I'm not a huge comic reader. I wish I was bigger in the comics, but also go to comic shops, go to bookstores, and like support those. I know it's easy just to order on Amazon or whatever, but go in physically and be like, hey, that can be a very fun experience. Like, hey, buy the books. Here's my thing. I'm going home. I'm go reading this on a bench or something. Like, it's very important to support those like small businesses like that, I think.
I echo those sentiments. I think there's something unique when you walk into a comic shop and you've heard of this series that has books on it, and you ask for the book and they give it to you. Yeah. And you may meet someone that's read the book and is a fan of it, and there's an easy convo to be had, and interact. Be out of your realm, try it out, see how it fits, and you might meet a new friend and whatnot. To me, the boys from Heroes Reforged, they got me into Invincible. I had never heard of Invincible. I heard of Robert Kirkman, but I had never heard the book until they brought it up and kept saying, you got to read this, you got to read this, you got to read this. I gave it a taste, and I'm so happy that like they recommended it, and it's part of my life now. It's been one of the best things to watch these past few years, and things to cover on the channel, in my opinion. Go ahead.
No, it wasn't important. I was just going to say, like, I'm a huge fan of the like Heartstopper series over at Netflix, and like when that finished airing its third season, I was like, I really like, even if because I haven't touched them, man, I haven't touched them, but like even if I'm not, like, I want like a piece of the show like as part of my like room arrangement at the very least, and I feel like it makes you kind of have like a deeper connection to that show and to that medium and stuff like that in a very special way. So yeah, absolutely. Like every time I go into a comic store, I always see the like Invincible, like big huge books, and I always want to pick it up because it's like that looks so cool, and like the pages look so cool. So I'm definitely excited to read it someday. Maybe once the show has wrapped or done something, or maybe even at a certain point where it's so far ahead I can read without spoiling stuff I haven't seen. But yeah, no, for sure.
My friend, thanks so much for taking the time out of your day to talk Invincible with me. Please tell the folks where people find you, plug your channels, your whole shebang, your podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, you can find me at Darren McClymans on YouTube, on Twitter, on TikTok. I haven't been posting as much there, but yeah, no, I stream twice a week on my channel. If you want to hear me talk more about Invincible, on Monday I do after the credits. So we're talking Invincible Reacher, the premieres for Daredevil Born Again, which is very exciting. And then I do the pipeline every like Thursday, Friday-ish, where we talk a lot about pop culture news and stuff. This week we're ranking every Disney Plus premiere for Marvel. So now that Daredevil is out, that will be very fun. And yeah, go check me out there. And me and Rowan talk a lot on Pride Nation as well, and on Council. So if you want to see more of us collaborating, that's a good place to find us as well.
Beautiful. Yeah. Tuesdays, Party Nation with Lance Geekdrum's channel.
Yep.
Wednesdays, Council Creators with Chainsaw Reacts channel. It is the Adult Swim, bar at night, beer in the comic shops, taking over Chuck E. Cheese vibe that you want of a podcast show. Those two shows are madness, and y'all should jump on that train and like hang out with us there. It's a blast.
It's fun.
Folks, I have as much coverage as I can put out of Invincible from all 3 seasons in the channel. I'm going to see if I can do something cool for next week's, where it's the finale, and have more people who have seen it, bring them on if time and space can be open. And know that like this is a big staple of the channel. And like stay tuned. We're almost at 1,000 subs, which is very cool. In the next few months, there's going to be a lot of stuff to cover. The next few weeks. Between this, Daredevil, Last of Us Season 2, Andor Season 2. And I'm going to try to like squeeze in stuff like Lazarus and Devil May Cry, depending on how time you work. And if people want to see it. So thank you so much. If you bother checking this out live or in playback, hit the like button, share the enthusiasm, spread the word. If you're a fan of this series and people who want to engage with and see people's thoughts, come hang out with us next week and whenever these videos drop. So until then, take care everybody and have a good night. Oh wait, we have one more comment. Yeah. Adios.
Bye.